Okay, so now that we've talked about neuron structure, I'd like to go through and let's talk about neuron function. And this is very important because neurons, as you remember, are the cell that carries out the basic function of the nervous system. So this is an incredibly important cell. So I'd like to make sure that we keep in mind the big picture of the nervous system. So we've looked at this before, and so we have a stimulus coming in. We have receptors that sense that stimulus, and then we're going to send a nervous signal to the spinal cord and brain. Okay, it's an electrical signal. That signal gets passed from one cell to another, and finally an electrical signal goes out this cell where it hits the effectors, and these cells are going to respond. So where we're going now is we want to really understand what is the nature of this nervous impulse. What is the nature of this electrical signal? And we're going to be looking at it from both a molecular and cellular level. Okay. So here's the neuron that we've seen before. Okay. And we're going to begin learning about function by knowing what does this neuron look like at rest before anything happens. As it gets a signal, it causes something to happen inside of the cell. We're going to move some ions. That's how this cell is sensing a stimulus. And it causes what's called a graded potential. Now that graded potential can be weak, and maybe our body never even consciously perceives it, such as when maybe a mosquito lands on your arm and you don't really feel it at first. But sometimes that stimulus can be really strong, and it's going to cause this graded potential, this movement of ions, to be very, very strong. And when it does that, it's going to cause an action potential. Action potentials are going to travel down the length of the axon. It is literally electricity traveling down the length of the axon. And when it reaches the end, we have this thing called synaptic activity that is going to help transfer that signal from one neuron to another neuron. So just to recap, we begin at rest, and then we have a stimulus, we get this thing called a graded potential, a movement of ions happening inside the cell, and it happens in this region of the cell. Sometimes if the stimulus is weak, you get a graded potential and it goes away and nothing happens, and we don't even really notice the stimulus. But if the stimulus is strong enough, say the mosquito lands and it bites you, then the graded potential, that movement of ions, is very strong, and it's strong enough to cause an electrical signal or an action potential to move down the axon. Again, we have to transfer that signal from one cell to another, and that happens through synaptic activity. So this is the overview, and in the next few pages we're going to be going through each one of these parts in detail.